Good evening. Tonight, another gold medal for the region at the Paralympics, which brings the Midlands medal total to 27, with the possibility of more over the weekend. But is the legacy of the Games being put at risk by council spending cuts?
A BBC investigations found that in the last 3 years, 46 council sports facilities have either been shut down or had their opening hours reduced. They include leisure centres and swimming pools. In Birmingham, there have been 11 closures, and in Stoke-on-Trent, there have been 5. Our political reporter, Elizabeth Glinker, has been finding out whether the much-talked-about Olympic legacy is under threat.
Boarded up and out of use, Sparkhill pool in Birmingham, which closed 3 years ago. This parent says local participation in sport is down.
The individuals who would probably walk to the baths and use the gym and the swimming are not, actually haven't found alternatives because the leisure centres are quite far away, or they haven't got the transport facilities, as well as the local children in the local schools usually use the bath on a regular basis. And since it's been closed, they've been going to other leisure centres, but not as much as they used to when the Sparkhill baths were open.
In the last few years, local authorities have had their funding from central government cut, which means they've had to make some difficult decisions. In Birmingham, 11 facilities have closed and 12 others have cut their opening hours. But the council says sport remains a priority and they're working in new ways to deliver services.
We have to look more innovatively at how we deliver sport in the future. Commissioning the private sector, but also the voluntary sector to run facilities and give them more ownership of them.
Those tasked by the government with inspiring the next generation say today's research doesn't give the full picture.
Our figures are actually showing that overall, across the country and in the West Midlands as well, facilities have actually grown slightly. Because, of course, local authority facilities only account for under 20% of the sports halls, for instance, or a third of the swimming pools.
But back in Sparkhill, there's frustration.
We know that the local authorities are in debt and they're under a lot of pressure to kind of cut their budgets. But it's such a shame that the swimming pools and the leisure facilities are part of that kind of budget. I think if the government wants an Olympic legacy, they're going to have to think about how leisure facilities are funded.
With our summer of sport now drawing to a close, who'll fund our Olympic legacy remains to be seen. Elizabeth Glinker, BBC Midlands Today.
Well, with us now from our studio in Stoke-on-Trent is the Labour MP for Newcastle-under-Lyme, Paul Farrelly, who sits on the Culture, Media and Sports Committee. Thanks very much for joining us, Mr Farrelly. Disappointing to hear that so many facilities have either been shut down or had their hours reduced when money is so tight. What's the answer?
Well, good evening. It is worrying in general. Direct government funding cuts, council cuts, schools selling off their playing fields. It's really does threaten the legacy that we're seeing now from the Olympics. It only struck me the other evening when it was said that many of the competitors in the Paralympics are new, and that was down to the coaches and the talent being spotted. And it's not just about elite sports; it's about sports at amateur level, which have great health and personal development benefits, and it really does threaten the legacy for the whole of the country, not just the Midlands.
Well, you sit on the Culture, Media and Sport Committee. What is your committee doing about it?
Well, what we do is we scrutinise the work of the government, and we'll be certainly looking at this in particular about the legacy of the Olympics. Let's not forget also that despite the success of the Olympics, when we won the bid, sports funding was cut across the country to pay for it, and now the National Lottery is not being raided for money for the Olympics. It's also due to get some money back from sale of some of the facilities. And what we'd like to see, I'm sure, is a sports dividend from the National Lottery, but a sports dividend that isn't just focused, as the Olympics were in London, but on the rest of the country, including the Midlands.
Now, London won the right to host these Games largely on the promise of legacy. Is there a danger that it's going to fall short on that promise?
Well, we'll have to see. Let's let the organisers of the Olympics, are fantastic games, pick themselves up, look at how the handover of the facilities is going to go, and then let's look in depth at what money we can get back. And also, as I say, just let's have a look at the National Lottery, and in terms of securing the legacy all around the country, including the Midlands, let's see if we can work out a sports dividend that's good for all to try and counteract some of the effects of the cuts.
OK, Paul Farrelly, thank you.
Well, back at the Paralympics, the Midlands has more